Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Whole Magazine with your host, Brandon Cox, who's supposed
Hello.
to do introductions for the rest of the staff.
Hello. Thank you all so much for joining me, episode 55. As always, I'm joined by, as always it seems, the most consistent people for the show. Nathan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing okay.
Make sure you guys check out his babies and his little pet projects, Emergency Reload, as well as the Reddit Flags and Review. He's a very big flag connoisseur. We're also joined by Oscar. I believe we have some of your people browsing this live, which is pretty cool. Maybe.
Yep.
It seems
Probably.
we have
I have no idea.
5 people watching live. Hello, thank you all so much for joining us. If you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm also joined by, you heard him
I think I
first,
already see
Isaac.
messages in the chat.
Yeah.
It's mostly me and Nathan just saying.
Okay.
How's it going, Isaac? I introduced you.
Okay, cool. Hello.
Hello. And then
If
we're
you're
joined by,
listeners of the show, you'll remember me. If you're not,
yeah, have to do it. You know,
go
people
through
join late.
a lot
They're
of
not.
episodes on Spotify.
They're not like episode 11 type people. You know, they're like episode 54.
Am I an episode 11 person?
I know you're in episode 13.
Yeah.
Which is no longer available to the
Oh,
public.
but which was the episode with the Halloween special?
That was
Which
episode 13.
that? That's right.
Yeah.
He was contractually obligated.
Or no,
to
I think it
remove
was
that one
11.
From
I think it was 11.
circulation.
Episode 11 got... Episode 11 was X-Nate. And then we're joined by Josh.
Hi. I
Hello,
have
Josh.
no reason to be here.
I have no reason to be here other than you wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know why he's here. This is full disclosure, by the way. Josh is my little brother, so
It seems, after zooming out of the cut sheet, it seems to be that we're full of Elon Musk.
I didn't
but
read the cut sheet, by the
in
way.
a typical Isaac.
Typical. Very typical.
Never do prep. Don't
I'm
ever.
free
do
to
prep.
talk about
He
everything all the
doesn't
time.
prep anything. He preps his underwear and a drink, and then that's it. To kick off the fireworks, really, like fireworks in a show.
Oh,
Hours.
It's a very
like a-
considerate terrorist. They didn't actually want to hurt anyone. They just wanted to make a statement.
see,
It's
what
like,
happened was they purchased an electric vehicle. That should be. That's those lithium.
So
It was like a Michael Bay film for a second.
my genuine concern about
Yeah.
everything was the fact that they had to close down the fashion store. So I was very upset
that
about
was
that.
your concern. That's
That
very
was-
Oscar. That's
That was
very
my
Oscar
concern,
of
to be
you.
honest with you.
Got a man with his priorities in order.
It's literally
Not the
this
gap.
is this is Allah's worst bomber.
Ah,
He couldn't be bothered to make his own high explosives or to figure out how to mix
couldn't be bothered at all.
mix
You
the ingredients that
You
are
don't think
available.
that was a
online.
high explosive? That was
Dude,
that was-
it was fireworks.
That was
I would be surprised if it blew out the glass on the front of the building.
What are you talking about? What do you
Go.
don't
Yeah, go back to the video. It was literally fireworks.
It's just fireworks.
It definitely had a Hollywood feel to it.
there was a lot of spray. Let's just
Oh,
say
so
that.
you'll
I'll
say
bring it
you'll
back
say
up.
it's CGI. Haters will say it's a fake blow up. They'll say it's fake.
What I'm telling
Everything.
you is when the federal building
You can
in
literally see fireworks
Whitmer
right there.
got bombed.
Please. I hope this
Fireworks.
is what liberals
Haters
think
will
is
look
a
at
bomb.
fireworks. I call it thermite.
Look at. That's not thermite. Motherfucker's never seen thermite in his life.
You could stand next to that truck and be alive afterwards.
I highly doubt that.
Somebody,
Highly.
That's
pretty sure
Yeah,
someone
go again.
literally just smoke. That's all it is. That's
No, it's-
basically a big smoke
That
bomb.
truck is no longer functioning.
You know what's amazing? Before I saw this video, I was just under the impression that,
Yeah,
know,
look at all the
explosion.
sparks and
I thought the
fancy
word
effects.
explosion was kind of like a little bit of, press editorializing to make it sound sexier. And it was just mostly like an electrical car fire. But I mean, I get it. That would count. That's
It was
amazing.
Explosion
It was a
is just a
car
big one.
bomb. It was a
That's-
car bomb.
That's
It's
crazy.
a really shitty car bomb. It was possibly the worst car bomb ever constructed.
Look, what we can all agree on is it was
this-
designed to send a
He
message.
is the worst car bomb ever constructed.
Hey.
Was in the worst car ever constructed.
So starting this off, we have that was our sort of festive, as most fireworks do in the new year. By the way, Happy New Year's from the Whole Magazine. We have
Actually,
I know it's
bad
going to be a
New
little bit
Year's.
late.
I hope you have a bad year.
Isaac's already drunk. Okay.
Typical.
I'm
He's
not
already
drunk yet.
Well, then
This
just
is-
buckle up.
This is my first drink, and
Just
now
me-
it's empty.
Let me catch
He
up.
holds up an empty cup. He holds up an empty cup.
Next,
There's-
it's going to be. This is my third drink of the night. It's my third
Officer,
drink of the night.
officer, I've only drunk this. Amazing.
This is the thing right now. So I'm actually hydrating. This is basically just not alcoholic. I'm drinking frozen water.
Not,
if you
not
all-
beating the allegations. Not beating the allegations.
Go.
If you all remember,
Rona.
Actually
if you
drinking
all
a beer.
remember,
He has empty bottles of alcohol in the background.
That's eggnog. That's about as mild as it gets.
Aren't you
Clear
Hispanic? Call
bottle?
it coquito.
Coquito.
Why would you're
Coquito.
racist?
Only for my friends.
So that's going to set off our
That's
new
fact.
year. Elon has been catching a lot of flack. I mean, when has the guy not? Ever since he started endorsing Trump, it's been an absolute shit
It's
show.
been
for the
longer
left
than him
freaking
endorsing
out.
Trump. It's
That's-
been like
yeah.
I mean, the moment
since-
that like he kind of like
at
this
least 2018.
was like,
When did
hey,
Tenderfoot go crazy?
With the Hyperloop.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
been like
so
at least
a little bit ago.
2017, 2018.
So the left crying out, saying that the government is now in control by a billionaire, has to be the most laughable things in the world.
I mean, technically,
And this was
not.
all
It's
about the
Controlled by a lot of millionaires in
There was-
Congress.
this was all about the recent bill that was passed and enacted, which was the continuing resolution bill. You can look forward to a full article on what was in that bill. I'm still working on it because I'm going through the entire bill.
Looking
And
good.
it's a lot. Nathan has access to that, so he can look at that. I've shown him, and so far so good. I basically, what I'm doing is I'm cutting out all the fat, so that way you just see the raw information and seeing what the bill is adding or changing. But the reason why people are getting so upset is because Elon, with his platform X, is now making all these things that happen in the government, usually unbeknownst to the public because they
Yeah.
hide it through a bunch of bullshit,
completely hidden.
completely out in the open. And so people are seeing what's in this bill. They're being, shown examples of what's in the bill. And you know what they did is people actually contacted their Congress critters and gave them their opinions. And that's why the Republicans held up the bill so much. So far, I've gone through Division B. There isn't so much in the way of random bullshit spending or programs to go overseas yet. I will let you know immediately with when that happens. And if the viewers have questions for the show, we will go ahead and see them, and we'll get to them when we transition to a next part of the show. This is actually the first time. This is actually the first time that the whole magazine has a quote unquote live audience. Isaac setting fires in the. I will interrupt Brandon to answer them.
The first thing I had of
Give
is
me
Brandon being like
questions.
blah 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 blah
And
blah.
I
Hey,
really- Yeah, no, it would exactly happen. Regardless if there was actually questions, it would just be Isaac. The bill so far is actually not crazy. It's not very wild. I'm actually going to go and pull up a section of the bill that I'm actually on now. And so you can kind of see the kind of stuff that I'm going through or just taking a peek at and exactly how these sort of bills are structured. Okay. So here we are. This is Division B of the continuing resolution. There are a bunch of these titles, which you can call them sections and whatnot. This section is particularly for the Department of the Interior, for Bureau of Land Management, Management of Lands and Resources. So this is the basically department, and then this is the reason or program that these funds are for, right? And so we can see immediately now, so for an additional amount for management of lands and resources, $58,115,000 to remain available until expended for necessary expenses related to consequences of natural disasters occurring in. So this whole section, I've read through dozens of these, and it's all basically just the disaster relief and aid programs that the government is dishing out for people, rightfully so, in recovery from the massive storms that we've had in 2023 and 2024. So this is all well and good. There's nothing crazy or wild about this so far. But the moment that I do see this, if you're not following me on X, is typically where I've been posting a lot of updates on this kind of crap of what I'm seeing in here. Go and follow me on there. I fucking forget my handle. I should probably have the handle. But I'm on it.
It's called Twitter.
Yeah, sure. Twitter, X,
Whatever you
whatever.
want to call it, whatever will help you sleep at night, man.
But there's also a lot of things such as the Atomic Defense Energy Programs, Department of Energy. So they basically categorize them via department. And then you'll have occasional things such as up here where we have random things. So here's procurement allotments for the budget for the Space Force, Air Force, Army, operation and maintenance costs.
129 million for the Air Force. They could buy one F-35 with that.
What's up here actually in Division A is actually stuff for the military's budget of procurement and construction. So they have a lot of stuff talking about the Navy's Columbia-class submarines programs.
Nice.
So they're also doing the Columbia-class submarines in the amount
It can't
29,
exceed
2.9 billion.
2.9 billion.
Yeah. So what you'll also see a lot in these bills are amendments or changes. I will actually pull up for a moment. You guys are going to see a behind-the-scenes scoop of the website.
I don't know. I think that's a lot of fucking money just to the military.
Well,
alone.
no. So it is. So I'm going to give you guys, since you guys are watching this
Oh
live,
yeah.
you guys
What do you
get
think the
inside
GDP
scoop.
of the United States is? What do you think our yearly gross domestic
I
product
don't
is?
know what the yearly gross domestic product is. I don't know any of that.
What if I told you it
So-
was multiple trillions?
Here we have
Then I would
the
imagine we
article
would
right
be
now in the
addicted
works.
by now.
And if it's multiple trillions, then 5 billion is like nothing.
So, and then this is what I'm also doing on the article here is actually dividing up of where all that money is going. And so in here, you actually get a more visual representation of
What
how much money is going
the
to each department.
Fuck.
So NOAA is actually getting $5 billion, $5.1 billion just in Division A.
What is
okay.
NOAA exactly?
They
the
do weather.
National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, or whatever the fuck.
They're very important.
Yeah, they're
like
very
NOAA.
important stuff. So the
You guys are
Navy,
sarcastic, aren't
just in Division
No, as a
A,
pilot, it's important. They do a lot of weather collection. They're very important for
those like the
aviation.
emergency radio service too, is like you can tune to a certain radio channel and it's just the weather. That's NOAA. It's a very good public service.
If
but
you know
the
how to read
Navy-
a surface analysis chart, they are published by NOAA.
The Navy, just in Division A, and this is how I'm dividing it up, and at the end there's gonna be a whole total for the whole bill. The Navy alone in Division Alpha is getting $14.14 billion.
That's a lot.
And that's because Navy shit's expensive. You know, what can you say? Boats are expensive, people. But be looking forward to that. And this is actually going to be a great demonstration because what we're seeing a lot of is 1,500-page bills are no stranger to American democracy or government, okay? It's
Well, the
almost
whole
every
thing
bill.
so that you can say, this is the making it illegal to murder puppies act, and then they add like a billion other things inside the
Exactly.
act.
Exactly.
And then if you're like, well, actually, I don't want to vote that everyone has to castrate themselves by the age of 10. That's a bad bill. Then
Yeah.
whoever sponsored the bill can be like, see, he doesn't like the bill. He wants to murder puppies.
Exactly. And that's
Wow.
typically that's literally at the major.
There was a bit of Republicans, from what I understand, who denied that bill, or
Yes.
not. So that's what
Yeah.
I understand.
They
Yeah, they want to
stopped it.
murder puppies.
They stopped that bill.
According to you, Isaac, they really want to fucking kill these puppies, man.
They stopped that bill because they wanted it to be revised and they added corrections, which is part of the normal process of.
And I'm assuming
the
those revisions
legislative.
were made.
Yes.
Look, I'm not opposed to the bill. I feel like from what I just have a general understanding of the bill, right? It is a generalization of changes that are being made in certain departments of the government, right? So, no.
No.
What about funding?
So that was Division B, and for a lot of those, what you'll see is for an additional amount. So that's not even the accurate amount of the previously allotted budget, which is standardized in U.S. code. So all of that I just described was an additional amount on top of their normal budget.
So that's just more money that they're already receiving.
Yeah.
From what they're already receiving.
Literally,
So,
and this
when
is how
you
it
showed-
works, is I had a cross-reference. I should have shown you the sources that I had at the bottom of the page. You have to cross-reference all these sources to actually check just how much total money is given to each part of these.
So I noticed that
departments.
whenever you were dividing funding that went into different departments in the whole MAG's website, right, that 4.9 million was going straight to education. Would you argue is that too less or too much
Well,
to the Department
so
of Education, and how much are they already receiving right now?
it's important
I've
to
always
remember.
felt that education was underfunded.
So it's important to remember that Division A and B are all in recuperating damages caused by the recent natural disasters.
Which is
That
fair.
is literally it. And
That's fair.
They even go so much as, and I don't include this because what I'm doing is cutting the fat, but when it says for an additional amount for use in regards to national disasters, it has to be used in conjunction with natural disaster recovery. So if the Navy is given $5 billion, they have to use it for recovery stuff. That's an important thing to note.
It is important to realize that multiple there's probably been a lot of damage to military installations and equipment because of the hurricanes recently.
Yeah.
A lot of naval
Glad
stations.
you're worried about the military equipment, Isaac, and not the lives that have been damaged or their businesses or their
Well, I'm
homes.
saying
puppies.
if you damage $14 billion worth of Navy
The
equipment,
bill covers
it
that.
has to be replaced.
The bill covers that through the Department of Commerce.
Would expect that those people's homes would be replaced too.
That would probably be more like Department of the Interior and or Homeland Security, but more or less Department of Interior rather than Homeland Security.
I have a feeling. Look, I know you're probably telling the truth right now, but Department of Interior just sounds like a fucking made up department right now, just coming out of your mouth. That doesn't sound fucking real.
What was his name? Ben
real.
Carson? Dr. Ben Carson, I think. They
That's
put him in charge of it in the last administration.
That's Department of Interior is real.
Right.
I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me on who the Secretary of the Department of Interior was.
It's too late. I already quoted you.
Quote me. What did I say?
So the that bill that we just talked about on December 21st, 2024 is when Congress actually passed that bill. If they didn't pass that bill, the government would have gone into government shutdown that same day. So it was very much a last minute thing to get that through. That's typically how it goes. All of these government shutdowns and the threat of government shutdowns are not new. They happen all the time. And there's been a few times where the government has actually shut down. And people still get paid.
Yeah, you get back pay if you're the government.
They also use
time.
it as a tactic of, it's all theater. It's all a bunch of stupid, idiotic stuff. So our main topic of the evening, though, is a wonderful thing, which I personally think is going to be amazing. And if it is actually implemented, can do a lot of good, especially for things that we see here. I just briefly showed you a bill talking about the Department
Just to be clear,
Government
Home Magazine officially endorses the message that the Department of the Interior does not exist.
So everyone's heard of Doge. If you're Oscar, you immediately went to cryptocurrency.
I have $1,000 in Dogecoin.
I don't believe you.
If you're
Doesn't
into
the smartest man on the internet call it the Department of DOGE?
Yeah, or people who don't like it. Yeah, people who don't like it also just call it doggy. So, what can Doge get done? There is a lot of government inefficiency that we can all acknowledge. The fact that there are 400, I forget the correct number. We can have some fact checkers inside the chat correct me. Some 400 some odd different government agencies. They all have quasi overlapping responsibilities as well, which immediately is just inefficient. Why am I going to have 2 or 3 agencies all having the kind of same responsibilities over a certain department or sector in the government? Makes 0 sense. And so that was the biggest argument from the 2 people who wanted to start this DOGE, as it was called. Those 2 people being Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, a lot of people kind of have a interesting take on Vivek, because Vivek isn't coming from nothing, relatively speaking. He's a pharmaceutical company guy. He started the pharmaceutical company, and he got to where he is now, basically being the public eye because he ran for office and stuff like that. But I believe the team could actually get some stuff done. what are some of the things that can get done? Well, according to a thing called the Festivus Report, which is something done by Senator Rand Paul every year, last year, approximately $900 billion in wasted taxpayer money was counted. Fraudster used the faces of Barbie dolls as profile pictures to apply for Small Business Administration's Pandemic Paycheck Protection Program, and an AI verification system failed to flag the Barbie dolls as being fake. So if you remember, that program was in the midst of the pandemic, right? And it was supposed to allow businesses to continue paying employees when business was slow. Why it's still a thing, I don't know, because this report was for 2023. So why there was this program that was still running in 2023 is beyond me. But the Small Business Administration also spent $200 million on pandemic support to small business artists, including names like Usher, Nickelback, Post Malone, Chris Brown, Smashing Pumpkins, and Lil Wayne.
They're not small business artists.
You're right. Yes, very good.
Those are
very
like
good,
big
Oscar.
Celebrities.
Yeah.
Don't say very good like I'm
Very
a child.
In fiscal year 2023, the Treasury spent $659 billion on the interest on the national debt.
That's kind of valid.
The U.S. also spent money boosting tourism in Egypt, approving $6 million for the Agency for International Development. The fact alone, and people are going to call me a white nationalist and somebody who doesn't care about the international community, because I don't. I don't care about the international community. The fact alone that the United States feels the need to have a international development agency is fucking bonkers, because they gave Egypt $6 million to boost tourism to a place that's not the United States. Why?
Look,
these are the kinds of expenditures where it is so it would just be too easy just to be fraud.
I am all for international development.
Yeah, we know you are.
Sending money to a country that is not our own, right? To boost tourism. Am I reading that right? That's fucking tourism. Yeah,
tourism.
That is a waste of money. That is definitely a waste
in
of
my
money.
opinion, unless this other international company directly benefits the United States in some way, it is a waste of money.
It is it genuinely is. How in what way does that actually benefit
I mean,
the US?
frankly, any money going to Egypt, in my view, is a waste of money from the United States.
Well, they could find something like, I don't know, like invest in like some restaurants that we can get over here.
Why the fuck would we do that? Why? This isn't. We're not. Who is Gordon Ramsay part of the administration?
Low key.
We need
to
support small restaurants. No, fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I'm just saying there is some form of benefit to international development. There is things we can invest in and things we can fund.
You've said that. You said that, Oscar, and then nothing has.
All right. How about countries who are starving? People who are starving in other countries.
Why do we care?
And because no one else will.
Let those countries care. If those countries don't care about their own people, then like,
who cares?
Yeah. Here's a real question.
You guys are bastards.
Oscar. A lot of you. Oscar, real question though. Like, there's only so much this breadbasket can actually help and feed, right? And we're having problems feeding our main people. Okay.
I'm with you.
So at least you understand that there's a practical problem.
I understand there is a limit, and I understand there is lines we shouldn't cross as well, because we wouldn't want to go back to imperialism. But there is a way to have internet to be in international affairs or foreign affairs and actually be benefit to other countries.
Right. No.
And I don't disagree with that either.
Because this is the messed up mentality we have, because the Democrat government likes to do that first. They're like, no. We should support other countries first, rather than the United States benefiting. That's
but I don't get what he's asking about.
It's backwards.
The $6 million.
It's backwards.
Sent to Egypt.
I would imagine that if it's a $6 million loan blaster, there would be some form of interest or compensation from the money we sent.
No, any money that we send to any other country, we're not fucking seeing that shit ever again.
Yeah, no, it's gone.
Like
When Obama sent money to Iran to say, hey, don't build any more nukes. Here's some money so you don't build some nukes, and then they use the money to build nukes.
Oscar is referencing the $8 billion of unfrozen assets.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah, another great champion of heroism.
And yet
for the United
somehow
States.
people think he was a great president. I don't understand it.
It was the worst deal, ever made.
The Department of Defense
worse than Biden.
Destroyed more than $169 million of military equipment by leaving it outside. The Biden administration spent $236 billion
That was
on.
You destroyed that equipment.
I did.
By leaving it outside.
I left it outside.
It's your fault.
Biden administration's actually, it's everyone in this fucking
for
everyone in this call's fault right now.
For elaboration on equipment being left outside, he means whenever we did that stupid ass shitty
Josh is
thing
responsible
about
for
leaving.
the $5 billion to the Navy.
Whenever we
and
left,
then each of us is responsible equally for the money for the
Can I
army.
allocate that $5 billion to better equipment? Holy shit! I don't want to use a bendy torque wrench.
So Biden administration also spent $236 billion on improper payments, which is a euphemism for giving money to the wrong person.
Or the wrong amount.
What do you
They gave money.
When you receive like 8 different
person.
COVID checks, you just cash them all.
The Department of Agriculture also spent taxpayer dollars on cutting-edge research that measured rectal temperatures of 16 dogs and found that their fur color did not affect their body temperature, even after a hot summer walk.
Hold on.
What animal?
That's fair.
Hold on. Let's slow down a bit, just so I can explain.
That's
to people.
science, all right? It may be butthole science, but it's still science.
The DOA claimed it as cutting edge.
No. Let's slow down. To discuss more on the $236 million, we're talking about like in layman's terms. And I'm just gonna say it for the people who don't understand anything about politics. Let me put in perspective an example. Like when Jack Doherty went on Kai Cenat's stream and sent $300 in donations to his stream in an expectation that he would somehow get a collab with Kai, and then Kai just stole the money.
Well,
if you send it to him, that's not
it's
stealing.
It's a donation. It's not stealing. It's a donation.
It's money that is gone. We will never see again.
It's not stealing.
Who's we? It wasn't yours to begin with.
Oh, that was your example?
Yes.
The improper payments. That was the example. Is some
example
donation that someone knew who they were giving it to willingly, and that. Okay.
We gave it.
I'm glad your mic tops out before it gets too loud.
So the NIH also approved, everyone loves the NIH, approved funding for researchers to study the sleep habits of monkeys who were given meth in the morning.
Also fair. That's all of these. So, like the thing with the dogs, like now I know if I want to live in Florida, it's not cruel for me to buy a black lab. That's great. And because their butthole's the same temperature as any other dog.
Butthole's the same temperature, and then you should whisper that to the animal shelter. Be like, no, his butthole's the same temperature. We spent a lot of good money on that knowledge. I'm going to use it.
He is going to come after us. We
Look, monkeys. There's going to be a lot of better understanding of the medical and mental effects of meth on people. I guess their sleep.
Yep.
So they could have done a way more effective way of researching.
Would you rather they gave meth to people or just ask questions to crackheads?
I feel like that would have been more like actually productive.
Just go outside and ask crackheads.
Yeah, just go outside.
Seattle, Washington, they just have a bunch of guys in lab coats with some. So how are you feeling right now? Yes, we know what meth does to people.
So the NIH also approved a grant to study Russian cats on a treadmill.
That's understandable.
Fair enough.
To see if they have an accent when they walk. The NIH also funded $3.8 million study on COVID-19 misinformation exposure on social media among Black and rural communities.
Wait. Read that one.
Real shit.
Read that one again.
I know, too many words. I'm sorry, hold on. The NIH also funded $3.8 million study on COVID-19 misinformation exposure on social media among Black and rural communities.
You know what I could do with $3.8 million?
Buy a plane.
I could ask Black people what they know about COVID-19 and buy an airplane.
We would do it for so much cheaper. Well,
that was bigoted, first of all.
Well, no,
he
could ask 3.8 million Black people and then still have 3 million left to go buy a plane.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
That's all the study was asking Black people what they know about COVID and then checking it against
the government literally had to be like, okay, well, we have to add something to include other races.
Well, you're calling me bigoted,
let's
but
say
that's literally
rural
what they
communities.
Did.
Sure, man.
Let's say rural communities so we avoid the racist label here. So the Air Force also massively overpaid for soap dispensers, spending $149,000 more than it had to, according to the Defense Department IG report. Oh my God, the IG report.
The Dark Star's not going to build itself.
Props to the Air Force because the Army underpaid for soap dispensers.
Yeah,
and I can attest to this.
It's just a 5-gallon bucket of soap on the floor that you have to dip your hands into.
I can attest to this.
I know it's optimistic. I know it's optimistic, but I do like the conspiracy theory that when you see shit like the Air Force is paying $10,000 for toilet seats, that it's because that's how you fund the Nighthawk, the B-2.
They literally just have to like overpay for everything so they can have a big budget.
Yeah.
That's how it works, guys. By the way, for clarification of why that's funny is because for a lot of these agency budgets, if you're a lot of your say like your 2023 budget was for $100 billion and you only lose like 90 billion, congrats, your next year's budget is $90 billion. So they just reduce it to what you actually spent. So that's why, I mean, the Air Force also spent like 15,000 on coffee mugs or something like that, and they bought like 4 of them.
Now, was it just a coffee mug? Because like the flyaway cost of a coffee mug is like what, $5?
No.
But if you have to have civilian experts come in to train you how to use the coffee mug, and then you have to have ongoing support facilities and pay the people in support facilities. So if you break the handle off a coffee mug, you can send it in. It's under warranty and get a new one.
For those who don't
That's what people don't understand about military procurement.
Yeah. That is a legitimate thing. It is true. It is.
So the Department of the Agriculture. So the DOA, employees use their government credit cards. Now, I'm assuming if it's in this report, it's probably because it wasn't it probably wasn't because it was you're right. Agencies pay for massive office buildings, yet only use just 12% of the office space on average at their headquarters.
True. I believe that. You can see it in Detroit, Michigan.
Yeah, you can see that at Zoom headquarters too.
Agricultural Department. So the DOA, Department of Agriculture employees, I'm assuming because it was in this report, it was because it wasn't appropriate. Like how if you go on TDY, the government's going to pay for your like car rental, right? I don't think this is the case because agricultural department employees use their government cards to pay for things like cars, concert tickets, lingerie, tattoos, and bartender school. They really want to
I've known a few soldiers to do shit like that. But...
Yeah, if you can't wear power underwear to your TDY, I don't know what we're doing.
Personally, if I had to go to Texas and record a set amount of steers in a local ranch, I would want to be wearing Victoria's Secret's lingerie while doing it.
I've seen the ads.
Those cowboys aren't going to fuck themselves.
During basketball.
Make you jump higher. That's science.
It's high noon down there.
So the bartender school's interesting because
that mountain isn't going to break its own back.
The bartender school is interesting because they sort of, I guess they saw how successful
they wanted
AOC
another
was.
job.
They saw how successful AOC was and was just like, you know what, me too. Department
AOC
of Defense.
Is successful.
I believe this is stuff that Nathan added. Department of Defense, too many officers, too many CSGS civilians, too much reliance on CTRs.
All right.
money just goes down the drain in R&D, no practical new systems compared to peer competitors, DEI programmers, benefactors. Not everything gets to be a black budget. UKE and TIWN spending needs to be especially public or cut without quarter. You can start talking about your stuff that you added.
Please discuss at least the last bit. I need understanding on that one.
Yeah. So my big thing is that if we're going to spend this much money, it has to be spent wisely. Because, like, there's no going back. You can't make it smaller. And that might not even be a good idea. But you definitely need to, like, yank as much out of the dollar as you can. And a lot of these people, you know, there's a lot of contracting support.
All right.
Looks like there we go. So there's a lot of contracting support. No, I knew what was happening. I saw.
No, he's already used to it. He just rolls through it because Riverside still collects it. So
yeah, he still talks to himself in his room anyway, alone. So it was normal for him.
You have no idea. There is a lot of overhead for staff positions. There's a lot of overhead with civil service and contracting positions, and it's very inefficient. It's really killing the budget. There's like, I can't tell you a number, but it would probably shock all of us to some, like, it wouldn't surprise us, but it would probably make you think, if you could find the real number, how much we're wasting on people that don't need to be there. And to that end, like, there's programs that just aren't that important. Like at our old unit, everyone had their own little fiefdom. Everyone was in charge of their own little kingdom, and they had their own. They were always trying to, you know, get somebody, but it doesn't matter, right? It's just, it happens at a larger scale, and we need less of it.
I'm 100% with you, and if you like stood on a hill with a AK-47 and like the mob was coming after you, I would be on that fucking hill with you. Fucking need this to happen.
We're American. We use AR-15s, M4s, M16s. Get that Kalashnikov bullshit out of here.
6.2 is 30 cal. I got them both.
He's a commie. What do you want from him?
You're allowed to own as many rifles as you want.
That's true. The last part of this for me that matters the most, though, because like we'll always have, I think America's just always going to have an overhead problem, and the best we can do is cut the grass. But I do think that, I guess the privilege, the yeah, the thing that we really could work on is getting rid of the privilege that everything that's slightly interesting can be a black budget item. That needs to stop. This stuff needs to be super transparent. The stuff that can get us entangled in foreign affairs and foreign wars by accident needs to be especially public. You know, unless it really truly is something SOCOM really needs to be doing in the dark. And those are the sort of things that closed door, you know, oversight Hill committee meetings are for. But not everything needs to be said there, and there is a lot of laws on the books already about overclassification, and you can get in some kind of trouble. Not a ton, but you can start to get in some trouble if you start, say, classify everything at the highest level you possibly can. Even contractors aren't immune to that kind of prosecution now.
Cool. So what I did want to get into, so our final wrapping up points for the DOGE. There are a lot of good things that DOGE could possibly do, like cutting the fat, trimming the fat off of the massive amounts of government agencies that are out there. 400 some odd government agencies with overlapping responsibilities could do a lot of great things, and hopefully they get the chance to do that. I know, for sake, guys, like, kind of quasi voted for this. The American people did, but in the vein of sort of the theme of the military, we are going to watch a video which I'm pretty sure most of you have already seen.
Oh,
it's going to be a video, so buckle up, and we will go ahead and talk about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't honestly even want to watch this.
Okay, so first part, shut the fuck up.
I feel like this guy actually did fuck up and may not
so
be
let's go ahead and see where
super
it's like as
trustworthy.
much information as possible, and we'll go see if we can't
It looks like
dive
the
deeper into
video is
this.
also ahead a little bit. Can you restart it?
It is actually just at the beginning. We are
okay,
1 second in.
It's at the beginning of the YouTube. The TikTok's been going for 20 seconds.
I read the TikTok, so my bad. That's on me.
Try and see if we can't collect some information about this story.
Defaulted on my military retirement loan because I no longer had the funds to pay what I owed. I was forced to drop out of my local university where I was studying to become a pilot for the airlines because they turned off my educational benefits. Around this time, I was also going through a devastating separation and divorce with my spouse. My mental health and finances were a mess, and I was forced to move myself and my 2 small children into my parents' unfinished basement, where we still reside today. At a time when I needed my brotherhood for support, I was ostracized, labeled, and discarded. And no, I'm not starting a GoFundMe. My pride doesn't allow for me to accept charity. I will make my own way. What I want is a pound of flesh. I want accountability. Thankfully, a psycho chick recently blew up my business here on TikTok, so hopefully we won't be basement dwellers soon. But to get back on track...
I have to pause it there. Some psycho chick blew up my business here on TikTok. Sir, you posted it on TikTok.
Yeah.
Color me crazy, right?
Okay.
You posted on TikTok, and you obviously left it not private, so not only your friends could see it, you left it so everybody can see you.
Look,
my gut instinct with this guy is that he's not trustworthy. There may be more to the story.
Oh my god!
I wonder. So it's interesting because I don't recall him doing a whistleblowing before this. I don't know if he's facing repercussions because of what he reported now, or he's reporting something now. So it does sound like some UCMJ action that was taken against him for some reason, and now he's throwing his hands up because it was a UCMJ action. So that's what it's reading as right now.
He goes on in the video to explain how his Congress critter really wasn't able to help him. Even though he's a National Guardsman, you would think a little closer to your state might be a little easier to work into. But
me personally,
I can attest that even though my Congress critter gave me a phone call and actually sent in an RFI to the Department of the Army, he actually sent me the reply. They basically told him to go fuck himself.
This is what's confusing. I don't know. Does anyone else agree that this is reading as he got UCMJ action against him? And
yes.
Now he's whistleblowing because things are happening.
Well, yes.
For the video.
Watch the whole video. I don't know if everyone else has seen the whole video.
100%.
I've not seen this video.
I haven't. I stopped
like a minute in.
Because they could no longer kick me out of the military for that, they shifted their focus to my business here on TikTok, so hopefully we won't be basement dwellers soon. But to get back on track, the vaccine mandate for military members was correctly rescinded, and because they could no longer kick me out of the military for that, they shifted their focus to kick me out for mental health issues instead. But my individual situation within the military is just a small symptom of a big sickness that affects all of us. We are currently ruled by a cabal or ruling class that consists of greedy executives, woke generals, corrupt politicians, and satanic celebrities. Their goal is to constantly pit us against one another based upon our skin color, our religion, our class status, and our politics, all for their gain. They create false flags to send your children to foreign countries to die for profit.
Pause it here.
Poison our food, water, and medicine.
I'm 100% with him. I don't give a fuck. I'm with him. I'm with him.
Regardless, he's calling it like whistleblowing. One, it is actually offensive to me that he appeared in uniform for this.
Offensive to you?
I also agree with that.
Do you not find it more offensive that people in wearing the same exact uniform are doing these horrible things to this person?
Two, he's really hitting on a lot of buzzwords and propaganda points, despite what your personal opinions are as to whether or not some of these things are true or not. And that's possibly disingenuous also to gain sympathy for his personal situation.
Yeah, exactly. We've all been in the military. The military is not in the business of doing this shit to people for no reason. Now, do they go out of proportion sometimes? Yes, but you typically have to start shit.
It's possible his command really hates him, and it's also possible that his command has good reasons for hating him that stem from not just not getting the COVID vaccine.
And it's too convenient to not.
Nathan here is the subject expert on commands, on Army commands, response to him not wanting to get the COVID vaccine. And as I recall, they didn't necessarily care that much on a political level.
Yeah.
It was more so that they were ordered to make sure everyone had the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
And you didn't get it.
I absolutely did not have it the worst. I was definitely blessed to have the worst of it was really like sideways glances, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, granted, you know, and this is also another part. It's too easy for somebody to, by the way, him being uniform is also, yeah, like kind of a dickhead move.
Okay, there's worse things you've seen in uniform. You see women in here fucking stripped.
I mean, we can all agree that things in uniform on social media are typically bad.
People do retarded things in uniform all the time, right?
This man is talking about serious things that are
traps, not the only thing that happens.
Organization.
Yeah,
making a political statement in uniform is illegal.
That's kind of not good.
Posting pictures of your boobs in uniform is not necessarily illegal.
Classy. The thing here, though, is it's too easy for people to go on social media and leave out all the shit that they may have done.
So this guy could have literally called his first sergeant, you know, any number of slurs, done anything. All right, we don't know. We do not know the other side of the story here.
You're a liberal.
What would be really interesting, because he said he denied the COVID vaccine, and so they rescinded that order, right? It doesn't sound like he didn't mention any sort of headaches with the process of getting a waiver for it.
That's true.
So if he was like being that one guy who was just like, no, I don't want it.
I may be misremembering it. I think he does say in the video he did shoot for one.
Oh, perfect.
I know I tried to shoot for one whenever I was trying to deny my vaccine, but at the end of the day, I chose to get the vaccine because at the end of the day, I had priorities I had to attend to, and I didn't have the luxury of denying a vaccine and then losing my military career.
I do want to point out that he's a flight warrant in the Utah National Guard, as far as I can tell, and like Army aviation is like the thing suffering almost the worst out of all the Army programs right now. It makes so little sense.
I want you to know I was in literally an aviation brigade in Fort Drum, and I swear to you now, as I swear to you then, that was much harder, and we learned a lot more, and we were a lot more competent than 51st ESB.
Yeah, no, I believe that. But I'm saying,
everything is more competent than 51st ESB.
Yeah. Thank you. The only thing you said in here that I fucking agree with.
The other thing is, he's complaining about them trying to get him out of the Army for mental health issues. He's a pilot, right? Imagine you have a pilot who has suicidal ideations.
I can concur
if that's really what's happening, you're right.
Ryanair might hire you.
Is it
as a famously?
What about that South Korean airline? They're hiring too.
Is it bad? Is it bad?
She said I was the one for her. She said I was the one for her.
Oh no!
Is it tragic that he developed these mental health issues while in the service?
Oh, it's 100%
tragic.
100%.
But if you can't do your job,
you can't be surprised.
Yeah, if you can't do your job, you're going to get kicked out.
I will not be surprised if he has to obviously this is a man who is dealing with a lot.
Let's continue the video.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
Medicine for population control. They slowly whittle away at our basic God-given rights. They distract us with music, movies, and fashion to rot our brains. And they hate us. They see us as cattle.
Hey, dumb, I'm gonna sue this guy. That's okay. My line.
So this is like 4chan.
He's really
levels of
just
conspiracy theories, especially.
Those are opinions. Those are opinions. Those aren't facts.
No, they are opinions.
You don't understand how bad it is that he's in
judge someone based on their opinions. So the thing is, they see us as cattle. He may as well have mentioned that he's read the Talmud and hates Zionists because.
Also,
the language that he's using,
long political rant too, in a video about his unfair treatment in the military.
Easily controlled, but useful. Personally, I am fed up, and I'm asking my people, the American people, to rise up with me within the bounds of the law and take back our country, our security, our economy, and our American dream. And if our politicians stand in our way, we will remove them and elect new ones to fight for us. The answer is not murdering CEOs on the street. Our system may be broken, but it can be rebuilt peacefully if we work together. Your party cannot save you. Both sides are used by this elite class. If you don't like Trump, demand better candidates on your side. But based upon the amount of opposition that Trump faces from this elite ruling class, I genuinely believe that he is onto something. Remember, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And it is clear that he is their enemy based on their actions.
Pause it here.
Pause it. Yeah, pause it.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say that he had
guys.
me in the first half.
Okay,
he had me concerned.
No. I'm so beyond what he's saying. Is the fact that it went from I was treated badly in the military to I'm going to go on a 4chan level political rant.
He literally said in the first 40 seconds he wants a pound of flesh. He said that he wants his pound of flesh.
Yeah.
I want to point out that before the video, before the YouTube video starts, in the actual original video, he mentions the fact that he believes that this is protected under like whatever act covers whistleblowers, and that he's whistleblowing, but he's not actually reporting any wrongdoing.
It's not,
because when it comes down to it, regardless of your political views, right, the commander-in-chief of the United States military said every service member needs to have this vaccine. He disobeyed a lawful order by not getting the vaccine. They wanted to kick him out, right? Regardless of your political views, right, that is what happened. There's no wrongdoing. You may believe politically, and I might agree with you, probably agree with you, that that was wrong of the military to do, but the way that our society works and the way that our army works, we're an army of the people. We don't get to do whatever the fuck we want, right? You have to follow what the civilian leadership says. Civilian leadership said this vaccine's important, you have to get it. So he not wanting to get with the program. We're not an army of individuals. This is a team effort. He doesn't want to follow orders. Get rid of him.
That's a great point about the Whistleblower Act too. Is he actually is not?
He's not
labeling
saying that the
illegal.
army did any sort of misconduct or anything illegal.
He's not reporting anything illegal, which is what the Whistleblower Act is for. Just because you go online complaining and saying you don't like it is not protected activity.
I'll add on to that. I think you're 100% right, because one, we signed a contract, right? We all signed this contract. We all do what we have to be told at the end of the day, right? These are orders. He's given an order. You have to follow it, right? So at the end of the day, he isn't saying anything that the army did wrong or henceforth illegal. But at the end of the day, he's not really talking to just service members, right? He's talking to the general populace. He's talking to people who don't understand anything about the army. Right?
Oscar.
So at the end of the day, they're going to view this as the wrong thing.
Oscar,
you're making a retarded statement.
It's a completely irrelevant. The main focus of this, of how wrong this guy is about saying that it's protected actions or protected speech when it's entirely not.
I understand it's not protected. I'm just saying he is speaking out to a general populace.
We can show hypotheticals of how
he's making a political statement in uniform.
Right, he's cooked. He's cooked. I'm with you. He is cooked.
Yeah, he doesn't have a security.
At the end of the day, no, definitely not. If he had TS, it's gone. It's gone.
But I don't know if you need TS to be a helicopter pilot, but
you probably do.
The chance. My personal message to Trump:
I don't know.
Time to divide his past. It's just secret. It is now time to unite all Americans. We should all brace for terror attacks, mass shootings, technology failure, and economic collapse. The ruling class will not go down without playing every card they have left in their arsenal to retain control.
Now he's gonna
because this account is monetized. My future videos on military topics will be showcased on my other account, Deech the Chief, which is not monetized. I do not feel it is appropriate to profit off of this subject. I pledge any money that this video makes to Steve Nakui, father of Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui, who was killed during the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan. Steve had the guts to stand and protest his son's death and was arrested for it. I would like to buy him a nice dinner. Hell, I hope this video does so well that we have to send him and his family on a vacation. I want to close with a special message to my brothers and sisters in arms. I am disappointed in you. And remember, just because I speak sharp words against you, it does not mean that I do not love you. 96% of you participated in the EUA COVID vaccine, and I know less than half of you did it willingly. They lied to you, they threatened you, they coerced you. None of you got an FDA-approved vaccine in 2021. It did not exist, and for that, you should be furious. From a security standpoint, I want you to consider that vaccination rate. What if a scientist at Pfizer had conspired with one of our enemies to taint the vaccine to destroy the force? 96% of our military would have been out of the fight almost overnight. That cannot be allowed to happen ever again. I'll agree with you that this is a situation that your leaders never should have put you in. You were just trying to be a good soldier and follow orders. But there is a powerful quote from the movie Kingdom of Heaven that I love. King Baldwin says, "Remember that even when those who move you be kings or men of power, your soul is in your keeping alone. When you stand before God, you cannot say, 'But I was told by others to do thus,' or that virtue was not convenient at the time. This will not suffice. Remember that. Your oath is to the Constitution of the United States of America, the law of the land. You swore that oath to God, so you will answer."
As well as the officers appointed above me. You forget that little part?
What gets me is my gut instinct, and when it comes to judging people, my gut instinct is rarely wrong. In my personal experience, this comes off as maybe slightly less than genuine, maybe slightly he's trying to manipulate a certain emotional reaction.
Yeah, he is
possibly to alleviate his own financial troubles, but I won't speculate as to what his motives are.
Mm-hmm.
What I can tell you is that I would not trust this guy as far as I think I could fly a helicopter, which is not very far.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. This doesn't read. I mean, it seems like he caught some flack for denying which seems to be his, his whole thing here is the COVID vaccine, the emergency use authorization of it.
I would be very interested to hear like an in detail version of his story to see if he's actually been wrong.
The TikTok, he did describe some of the pay issues, and that still wouldn't go into the whistleblower territory, but there was some unethical. There was some unethical behavior, not illegal behavior.
But I don't think that the Army did anything wrong. I think that you having a political opinion and not wanting to do what the Army wants is also not wrong or unethical, but that the Army has no obligation to keep you if that's how you feel. If you are not going to, get in lockstep with the rest of the Army is not in the business of catering to individuals.
You also made a good mention of this too, of you reading this as being very disingenuous. He absolutely was, because he left out the rest of that oath, which was to obey the orders of officers appointed above you, which is the oath you also took. Yeah, you swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States from
National
both
Guard
enemies,
takes a different oath,
foreign and domestic.
Just extra thing about
he's like take the orders from
it's probably still the
whatever
same.
the governor, who knows, right?
They have a slightly different oath, the National Guard.
Well, I mean, it's all the same.
It has to be the same.
They swear in at MEPS. It has to be the same.
It's not the same.
Is it not?
I remember they have a few extra line or one or two extra lines in there.
Yeah, no, I remember that too.
Oh, then the thing Texas is like, and I promise to burn down California.
No, it has to do with following the orders of the governor or whatever. It's not like anything like crazy. Like it is literally mostly the same.
Of people above you still. That's crazy.
Just more specific. It is mostly the same. I'm just telling you, it is a slightly different oath, and I don't know.
At the end of the day,
that is
Brandon's
very disingenuous of him to leave that part out and just focus on the part that he likes, right? So he is being very, very disingenuous.
Well, to be fair, no one probably likes that. At the end of the day, I'm all for following orders and stuff, but I've always hated following orders from people who I deemed just fucking incompetent and brain dead. Why would I follow orders from an idiot?
Because you signed a contract and took an oath.
You're right.
That you would.
But how did this idiot manage to
there you go.
get in the position he's in? Beyond me. But that's my problem. That's always been my problem.
That's an unfortunate part, but the thing is, the military has a hierarchy for a reason.
You're right, and
the reason why the idiot was, well, you say that, but you have to think there's a millennia, right? So imagine, we'll say the start of European military tradition is fucking the ancient Greeks, right? Battle of Thermopylae, Marathon, whatever, right? The reason they fought the way they did has been added to and changed throughout the millennia since the events. To the point where the reason why we do things the way we do is because people who don't do the things the way we do have died, right? So yes, is there an idiot in charge of you? Probably. Is he there for a reason? Yeah. He's there because the way that we fight wars has decided that apparently idiots make good officers.
I learned
sometimes.
from experience. The way I've seen it is Isaac here, as much as I despise him, right? He is one of the smartest human beings I've ever met. And
don't inflate my ego. It'll throw off the weight and balance.
Will inflate your ego as much as yes. Just like that. Actually, I'll do you one better. Look, this guy is so intelligent, and seeing him have to explain things in his MOS that higher enlisted or higher ranking officials should know because they're in the same MOS or work in the same unit as him, but they don't, is crazy to me. This is a man who was a low rank, got out of the military, and they voila. Do you know what just happened right there? They lost an essential personnel. They lost someone essential to a team. And they'll say they give a fuck. They'll say, "Oh, we'll miss you. We'll miss you. We think you're amazing. We would have never done it without you."
So someone can be intelligent but also not be correct.
It doesn't matter.
I'll tell you one thing.
Right thing? Is he doing the right thing? Is he doing the right thing?
My perception of how things work comes from the point of view, we'll say hypothetically, because I don't want to inflate my own ego. Hypothetically, I can be the smartest person alive, but not have all the information available.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say this for the record. When Brandon left the unit, sergeant's time training never happened again.
No, it did.
It never happened. I barely saw it.
Crazy.
Barely. If it happened, I wasn't there for it. I didn't see it. And if it was there,
well,
you know what? Some stupid shit. It was probably some stupid sergeant training.
In fact, I have the last picture of it ever happening in the back of the Humvee.
In the back of the Humvee.
I have that.
God.
I have those. I gotta find those now.
The thing here, though,
getting the same.
That was the ham radio.
Think cars radio class. Every Thursday.
Well, because
I was there de facto.
I was there de facto when they didn't plan anything. They were like, "Cox, you want to show them the radio again?"
It wasn't that they just didn't want
to. Which likely what happened too is the company command was probably like, "Hey, we got to do SYNCARS training," and then they were like, "Fuck, is Cox on leave? No, okay, perfect." So
here's a 30-minute slideshow.
Yeah.
Here's a 30-minute holy shit, more John. Here's a 30-minute slideshow about the Fresnel zone.
Yep, here you go.
Fuck, man.
More things to make it more interesting, and I was about to get dicey there for a moment.
I'm riled.
Should have gotten an award, honestly, for the amount of work that you did there.
I mean, the only amount of awards I got were for medical shit, so that's all of my.
You literally should have got.
I forgot you saved someone's life.
He should have got an AAM for that training class because it was so good. It covered so many very technical aspects of RF theory, which honestly, for some reason, communicators don't know anything. Even 25 Quebecs, whose whole job is radios,
I think
don't understand anything about RF theory.
I did in my Army career.
You know what? I'm gonna address that because that's what pissed me off the most. Is because any field I go to, I want to know as much as humanly possible. Because one, it makes you better at your job. It makes you a better troubleshooter. You just need to know this stuff. Why are you just going to go throughout your job knowing absolutely nothing about it and just follow the sequence of button pressing because that's what you were told? It drives me fucking insane.
It drives
you
me
remember the
crazy.
Old joke of 25 Sierras are racist against 25 Quebecs?
Yes, and it's true.
That's where it comes from. Because
that's all they do.
The only thing that 25 Sierras know is radio or like SATCOM theory, radio frequency theory, and everything. And so when you go up there, and there's that story I have of this guy named Perez who was supposed to be like they were going to put him on the NetOps for the battalion because apparently he was smart, and he was trying to tell me that the downlink frequency was the same as the beacon for the satellite.
When I talked to some tropo guy from Charlie Company, and he told me that C-band moves slower.
Yeah. Which anyone listening, and I'm not sure how many people there are, but anyone listening won't understand this. Don't worry about it. It's not important. It won't affect your daily life.
What you need to understand from just a little discussion we had that you just don't understand at all is that there is individuals in our military who are given positions of power and have no fucking idea what they're doing. On this day, I have no idea what they're doing.
You don't have to yell. I never had a team chief who understood how to use the equipment.
Yeah.
Calm down.
I think there's
I've never had a team chief other than the people I had in Fort Drum who
let me add my little perspective on it. Is the moment you get to sergeant or become like just an E5 where you become more supervisorial, right? However, most of the time in a perfect world, your sergeant is still hammering stakes in and doing that kind of shit, right?
Yep.
Which actually happened before any of like Nathan, Oscar. My best.
No, I remember some of it. Some of it was okay.
My best team chief that I've ever had was Sergeant Gaycon. I knew him as a specialist, and he was the best team chief I've ever had in the military. He, but in the same vein is like once you get to E5, you are slowly, right? There's a staircase. You are slowly getting more administrative, right? You're in E5, you have to worry about counselings, monthly counselors. You have to worry about people's leave. You have to worry about people's medical status, right? So your focus now becomes more on the people's rather than the technicality of doing your job. How people forget how to operate a heat close, I'm not entirely sure. Why you can't do both is beyond me.
4 years doing it.
Or
So you remember?
Go ahead.
Do you remember when we did our signal gunneries or whatever they would want to call it? Validations, whatever. How I would basically be like, this is how we do things. Hey, you go pound steaks and you do this thing, instead of the team chief like every time. Because as much as I liked Wolfcamp, Rob's story, they didn't know what they didn't know how to use the equipment. So when it came to actually like doing our job, Brandon could have done this. Probably Hayes could have done this because we understand how things need to work, but we have to go out there and be like, hey, do this. And so every single time the OCTs, but the battalion standards guys would be like, hey, Walker, you're dead. Go stand over there for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Remember when they killed all three of us?
There's also
and it was like Bennett and everyone else were like around the STT trying to get it to work.
It's the whole StatCom team, but we're just like, all right.
So good.
There's a handful.
Yeah, Clark was there too.
There's a handful of different team chiefs that you'll encounter in the military, right? We've all, like, even in our relatively small careers in it, 6 years for me, pretty much I think 6 almost all around, effectively.
5.5 years, 6 years,
so
basically.
6 for me.
You're gonna encounter maybe a handful of different team chiefs you'll encounter, but topically the two that you'll have, which makes life either good or bad, are team chiefs who don't know anything but think they do and will try and correct you, and then those that know they don't know as much and will ask you questions and trust you to do your job.
And in fact,
I really liked Rob on TaxAt because he knew he didn't know what he was talking about.
Sergeant Wolfcamp, and I'm not saying that they don't know anything.
Yeah, but when
they
it comes
were
to the
honest.
equipment,
Well, I mean,
they were honest.
They didn't know anything when it came to the equipment, but they knew enough to like stand by and let me be like, hey,
they knew enough
Cox,
to trust
you know how to push buttons. Cox, you know how to push buttons. Hayes, why don't you call the RHN?
Yeah.
Clark, go pound in steaks because you're retarded.
That is some of the best leadership. Is they're okay if they know they can trust you, they'll just let you do it under their watchful eye, and that's all that they have to do. That's pretty good. That's a good compromise.
Do you remember that?
I don't even know why we're on this.
Were you with? We're in military talk now, which is great.
Yeah,
because of what happened in the video. That's why,
I know how we got here, but I'm just like, we're kind of far off the beaten path.
I can't relate to any of
sharing war stories.
Oh no!
Still
leaving him out. Oh.
Real quick, while I can, I'm just gonna give my closing thoughts about the video and why I'm a little heated. I think it's important to recognize that you guys know, I won't go into depth, have been ostracized. I have been labeled. I was dealt a pretty bad hand. But at the end of the day, there was things that I took accountability for, took responsibility for. There was things I was like, yeah, I fucked up. Like, I'm a bad soldier for this. Like, I deserve
this was
what's
something I wanted
to
to get into.
Right.
I'll let you finish, but
you're okay. So that's why with this chief, I could relate to. I was like, you know what? He's probably right. Was there some things that he was saying was a bit radical? Yeah. And that's the parts I just kind of back away from. Like, I'm like, you're kind of losing me on this one, bro. You're kind of losing me. But at the end of the day, he is still speaking through a generalized perspective that we have an organization that is flawed. There's individuals in power. There's people in leadership who don't fucking need to be there because they're incompetent, they're stupid, and they be pushing their own political agendas in a military
Before
organization.
You speak, Brandon.
Yeah.
Before you speak, Brandon,
Go ahead.
I had a thing to say, and it really was he comes across as what people would call a problem soldier, right? Regardless of what's going on. He's late to work. It's not his fault. The Jews are out to get him, right? And the issue is...
It's the idea.
Dude, I know how that is, man. I know how that is.
The issue is, and Marjan, I witnessed this firsthand with you, where you probably had the most legitimate, like, shit's fucked for you. You're not trying to be a problem, but you have problems and you're trying to get them fixed. But like 90% of the people, you remember, I won't say their names, but
we know the names.
Couple
I know
people,
their fucking names too.
You know a few people who they had problems. They try to say, "Oh, for whatever reason, it's not my fault. I can't show up to work. Oh, I pissed hot on the drug test. It's because whatever reason." Right?
Oh no! How did all of my junk get into the mop closet?
Yeah, right. So it very much reminds me of people like, and I wouldn't say their names. Haytez, Gordon, Clark. Honestly.
Yo! No! Don't do that.
Especially if Clark's watching this. I actually really like Clark.
We all love Clark.
Absolutely.
But he was not a good soldier. Really actually liked hanging out with Clark, but he was not a good soldier. And that's just. I hope he wouldn't be offended if he heard that.
The day
don't
Walker
have any issues with him personally.
The day Walker earned my genuine loyalty and respect was the day I showed up early to work. Like, I think I was like maybe an hour early, and I showed up to formation. I stood there, and people were late. It was like a really weird day. I think like 5 or 6 people were showing up late.
Was this when they were like really yelling at us about that?
I don't know if they were yelling at us, but I know you stood there and you said it at the top of your lungs. I just want you guys to know that if Morjan had showed up not even 2 minutes late, he would have received another Article 15. And I was just like, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yep.
But that's why I correlate with this gentleman. I understand he is doing the wrong things. He is saying things that are political and uniform.
Are we able to talk about how in what capacity I helped you with your
I want to. Legally, I think we should be able to.
It's decided.
It's not like
done.
It's not like it was a court-martial.
Both you guys have your DD-214.
I'll actually talk about this because I actually had a conversation with my sister-in-law today, and she was like, "Hey, what kind of discharge did you actually end up getting? Did you get a medical discharge?" And I was like, "No, I didn't get medically discharged. They did chapter me." And she's like, "Okay, so you didn't get disability?" I was like, "I did. I still have VA disability. I just have to work with the VSOs to raise the percentage." She's like, "So what was your actual discharge?" I was like, "It was a general under honorable." And she's like,
That's
"Really?"
Good. That's good.
She was like,
Okay.
I thought it was just a general. And she's like, and I was like, let me explain. After my preset board, and I fought tooth and nail to get a better discharge, which they in turn ended up giving me a better discharge. In fact, prosecution was horrified, or I should say they were shivering their timbers, because when Brandon came in to give evidence, Edwards came in to give evidence, Tyler Breakhall submitted evidence, and even 4 drum people vouching for my character as a soldier and a person. Prosecution was looking a little stiff because they were worried that this would no longer just be a case about me. It'd be a case about the unit. So they were like, hey, just a reminder, this is a case about Morjan's discrepancies, not the units. And I was like, wow, way to address that, man, because the unit definitely has some discrepancies that they just really don't want to disclose, don't they? So, but I ended up getting a general and honorable, and I remember the day I got it, I picked up my DD-214 and I was reading over it, and it said general under honorable. I was like, what the fuck? I was genuinely confused. And I walked over to Sergeant Z, my new team chief at the time, and I said, Sergeant Z, can you explain this to me? Why do I have a general under honorable? I'm supposed to receive a general. He goes, oh, that's usually up to commander's discretion. And my commander at the time was Captain Ryan Quam. He gave me the under honorable.
Nice.
I don't know why, but I like to think that it was because I never received a single counseling while under supervision. I showed up to work on time. I was always working. I always asked if anyone needed help, and I did my duty. The same things I did while under ACO. The only difference with ACO was I would like to think that I was under a higher level of stress from them personally. They were constantly down my throat 24/7. always counseling me.
I will say
me.
part of it was that there were certain people, and you know who I'm talking about, who completely eroded any sort of goodwill in the platoon.
I don't like to think eroded, because you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I like to say you're right, but I like to think what it was is if they genuinely did pick their favorites. It's not that they just picked their favorites, but they also
I wouldn't even say picking favorites. I literally think that the issue was that they came into it thinking, I'm a good NCO. I like to help soldiers out. And then they had certain people who you try to throw them a little bit of help, they will throw it in your face. They will say, fuck you, Sarnt. And then turn off their phone, not show up to work.
It goes deeper than that. And I've actually mentioned this too. Hey, check out episode 52, or Nathan
Walker,
and I talked to...
would you like to know what the car bomb was made out of, by the way, for the Cybertruck? And
hang on, you little shit brick.
It was fireworks. Fireworks. That's what it was made out of. I already know.
Check out episode 52.
4chan already said it.
That episode. But I've mentioned this to Bruce and Tom. The Holy Slideshow. Every unit, anybody in the military immediately knows what I'm talking about. The Holy Slideshow, which is the most important thing, seconded only by maybe soldiers. 1.5 would be equipment. If you affect the Holy Slideshow, and we're not talking about FTRs, okay? FTRs really don't. PERT stats don't even really affect that. What affects
when they have
it
to show up to the battalion and brief what they've gone over, and they have a certain amount of FTRs and everything else going on.
No, what really affects it, UCMJ actions. Big stuff. That makes the command look bad. So that is the stuff that effectively paints you as enemy number one. You're going to be treated differently because you are declared a problem. I recall people in CPN section.
Well, I mean, if you get yelled at, like from the point of view of the team chief, right? Let's say you have a soldier who's going through some shit. You're trying to give them ways to help themselves, but they're not necessarily helping themselves the right way. Now, all of a sudden, first sergeant's yelling at you about them. All of a sudden, you end up with a sort of Clark situation. Again, Clark, by some chance, is listening to this. Very much don't have anything against him as a person. As a soldier, this was the kind of shit that happened. He pretty much ruined Sergeant Gates as an NCO, dealing with any problems. And he also ruined Sergeant Rob dealing with any problems. Him and Taeyon. Both of those people, I really like them as people. Horrible soldiers.
And I think there isn't much avenue for these NCOs and these leaders to actually say, hey, like, we need to dig deeper. This soldier needs more help in something. Like, this person needs help. There are things going on in this person's life, because they want to say, and leadership says this all the time, that we genuinely care and we want to help soldiers as much as they can. And what they're really talking about is the open door policy for the chaplain that you can go seek out. And that's about it, because they don't want to hear your problems. They just want you to check the boxes of showing up on time, right uniform, just doing what you need to do, even if there's absolutely horrendous shit happening in your life. And so the NCOs in the military honestly need some more firm and direct ability to, I invoke Article XYZ of the UCMJ to elicit some sort of action to give a soldier that they know or should have that soldier get more help, and be like, here, don't worry about work. You go do this shit. You are fine. I already did this paperwork. You're good. That would help so much. That would help so much, because oftentimes what happens is soldiers go through shit in life and things happen, and then because they tainted the Holy Slideshow, they're enemy number one, and they're going to be treated like that. And that was a major part of my fucking letter I wrote.
To emphasize this Holy Slideshow a little bit more, I had this when I came.
Almost legitimately mutiny, by the way.
When I came in,
I was like, oh
it was
not mutiny.
He was so mad
when I went into the office.
Seen as a group that's mutiny,
because I went to TDS, right? Is that what it is? TDS legal, whatever the hell. I went
Trial
into
Defense
legal.
Services, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to TDS, right?
In the same building as the brigade headquarters, yeah.
Yeah. So I walked in, and I had to sit down with my lawyer. Won't disclose her name, but I sat down, and she was like reading me off the witnesses, right, and what they said. Obviously, this is where she told me who wouldn't testify for me, and that's who I found out who was two-faced.
Mm.
And then Then she said who would testify and who she believed were viable witnesses. And then she came to Brandon's.
Do you think I'm two-faced? Because I was like, they contacted me. I was like, I don't want to go to fucking Washington.
No, your context was I think you just didn't want to say anything.
I talked to you about it, and yeah.
I just didn't want to involve you. I felt like that wasn't like your place, and
I might still have to, because there was another person who wanted me to testify, and I said I would, and then
I didn't realize she would go back to you and talk to you about.
She did. She sat down and she looked at your paper. She looked at what you wrote, and she was like, "Who?" She's like, "I really like Brandon's testimony." I was like, "Really now?" She's like, "I'm telling you right now, his testimony is powerful. What he talks about is real. What he talks about can help you. Like this right here, this is
I didn't have to
power move one.
I didn't exaggerate. I didn't
She
embellish
saved
anything.
You for last on purpose.
I didn't.
That was her power
like
move. You were her greatest weapon in her opinion. She
I
said
think
the last
I literally just cited things that everybody in the military would understand. And I even I literally
in the unit was also pretty good.
Literally put
because the jury is made up of people in the unit too, right? Like the officers in the unit.
So it was a major, it was a sergeant first class, and it was chief from the motor pool, which I will not disclose his info, but you know who he is.
I literally I also mentioned the Holy Slideshow in my motherfucking letter, and it was just shit that every service member would immediately understand and be like, shit, he's right. Yeah. Because they've seen it too. It's time immemorial.
But they won't disclose it. They won't talk about it openly. It's not something that they just talk about.
Because those kinds of fixes are cultural. They're fucking oftentimes like army regulation changing. Like it's a big thing. The only thing you could possibly change is people's attitude towards these things. But if big boss is angry, then all the little bosses also have to be angry.
My closing statements were basically my life story. I talked about my life story, and it brought people to fucking tears. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna hold you. The board members are like tearing
that
up.
Brigade commander, by the way, never liked him.
Well, I mean,
I keep getting Facebook recommending him as a friend. By the way,
he was the worst brigade.
But yeah, like the whole situation in itself was crazy. And
what was his name? Was it Soto?
No.
Whatever that, there's like Puerto Rican E6 who was actually yelling at me during one of our validations.
Ooh, was it?
Because
it wasn't him. It wasn't him. It was
Sergeant Bueno.
Yes.
Not Bueno. Yeah. Bueno was different. Bueno, I have history going back all the way to
he
like
he was there with him.
But
and was
there was
agreeing.
I think his name was Soto. He was
that rings a bell.
I was
right.
It was,
I was helping
It was
you.
Soto and Bueno. You're right.
Someone was I don't even think Bueno was at the unit then, but Soto was like really mad that we were using the jack on the jack point of the SCT level instead of that weird bullshit where it's like, because they're like, oh, use the trick, right? And it literally is a trick, but it also doesn't work if you're in like really, really shit terrain.
Yeah.
Bueno was the one mad at me when I did the thing walker with the stakes on the SCT. I put 6 in. And I started it up.
Which is it was another one of those things where people just they.
And he was like, I want to see it in the TM, and I was like, you can see it in the TM. It's in my fucking pants. Would you like to look?
Jesus Christ. All right. Well,
Bueno and I had history going back to 2019, and he did not like me. But then all of a sudden, when he showed up at the 51st, he was like, "Holy shit!"
Started liking you.
He would like walk up and randomly start like telling everyone nearby that I was the smartest person ever.
I will say I really liked Bueno.
I had him screaming at me on the baseball field in Baumholder, Smith Barracks, Baumholder, Germany, because he did not like me and he was mad at me. And then all of a sudden at 51st, he's like, Walker, they don't do anything right here. Holy shit.
Isn't that crazy?
He realized crazy a luxury.
And you're like, welcome
Isn't
to
that
hell.
Crazy though? That's true.
Where we don't believe in anything that's real and we make shit up as we go.
Bueno, he was, Bueno was an E6, whatever. He was mad at me for possibly a legitimate reason.
All right. We're going to digress from here, folks. Don't forget, check out thewholemag.com. Trump25 for those codes. Go do those fun things. We have a lot of good stuff on the store. Also, check out the emergency reloads exclusively on YouTube. Also, the Reddit Flags and Review, also exclusively on YouTube. Other than that, I've been Brandon, and thank you all so much. And as always, have a good one.